Hello students, welcome to all of you Shiksha 360, and in this session we have to discuss regarding the internet and web services. So let's start our discussion. So many schemes relating to the purchase of websites offer earnings in the US dollars and in other foreign currency on incremental basis depending upon the number of new clients and customers added to the chain. So thereby making the operation of such schemes akin to the money circulation. Clear, that is similar to the money circulation. So it is clarified by the RBI that the authorized dealer banks should not allow remittances to the operators of such schemes and to any other overseas companies carrying on such type of activities. Okay, that is like to combat the illegal money transfer. So authorized dealer banks may, however, allow remittances if they are satisfied that the website is being sold unconditionally and the remitter is purchasing it for developing it for his present or future business and not for the purpose of adding further members to the chain. Clear? So for this purpose, authorized dealer banks should satisfy themselves about the bona fides of the overseas company and or the operators and the scheme through the proper documents. Clear? And the scheme through the proper documents here. International credit card. The restrictions contained in Rule 5 of the Foreign Exchange Management Act, that is Current Account Transaction Rules 2000, will not be applicable for the use of international credit cards by the residents for making payments towards expenses while on a visit outside India. Clear? So the restrictions contained in the Rule 5 of the Foreign Exchange Management Current account transaction rules 2000 will not be applicable for the use of the international credit cards by the residents for making payments towards expenses while on a visit outside India. So residents can use international credit card. Clear, residents basically can use international credit card on internet for any purpose for which exchange can be purchased from an authorized dealer in India. Clear, for which exchange can be purchased from an authorized dealer in India. Example, import of the books, purchase of downloadable software, or import of any other item permissible under the foreign trade policy. Clear? Or import of any other item permissible under the foreign trade policy. So international credit cards cannot be used on internets or otherwise for the purchase of prohibited items like the lottery tickets, banned or pro-subscribed magazines, participation in sweepstakes, payment for the callback services, etc. Since no drawal of foreign exchange is permitted for such activities or items. Clear? So in the examination, you will get basically where it will be used or where it will not be. Okay. So you have to be careful regarding that. Very easy question they will ask in the examination just from what we are covering, but you have to be aware regarding all these terms what we are covering here. Next one. There is no aggregate monetary ceiling separately prescribed for the use of international credit cards through the internet. Resident individuals maintaining a foreign currency account with an authorized dealer in India or a bank abroad, as permissible under extant foreign exchange regulations, are free to obtain, clear, are free to obtain international credit cards issued by the overseas banks and other reputed agencies. Clear? So, resident individuals maintaining a foreign currency account with an authorized dealer in India or a bank abroad are permissible under the extent foreign exchange regulations. Clear, are permissible as permissible under the extent foreign exchange regulations are free to obtain international credit cards issued by the overseas banks and other reputed agencies. The charges incurred against the card, clear, the charges incurred against the card either in India or abroad can be met out of the funds. Okay, the charges incurred against the card either in India or abroad can be met out of the funds held in foreign currency accounts of the cardholder or through the remittances, if any, from India, only through a bank where the cardholder has a current or the saving account. Clear, the amount from where will be transferred? Where the cardholder has a current or saving account. The remittances for this purpose should also be made directly to the card issuing agency abroad and not to a third party. The applicable credit limit will be the limit fixed by the card issuing banks. Clear, will be the limit fixed by the card issuing banks. So there is further, that is, there is no monetary ceiling fixed by the RBI for the remittances, if any, under this facility. So use of ICC International Credit Card for the payment in the foreign currency in Nepal and Bhutan is not permitted. Clear, use of international credit card for the payment in foreign exchange in Nepal and Bhutan, it is not permitted here. Next one, that is the international debit cards. So banks authorized to deal in foreign exchange are issuing international debit cards which can be used by a resident for drawing cash or making payment to a merchant established overseas during his visit abroad. Clear? So banks authorized to deal in foreign exchange are issuing international debit cards. Clear? Are issuing international debit cards which can be used by a resident. Basically for what? For the drawing cash or making payment to a merchant established overseas during his visit abroad. Okay, there are also specific limits. So it is clarified that the international debit cards can be used only for the permissible current account transactions and the item-wise list as mentioned in the schedule to the rules as amended from time to time and are equally applicable to the payments made through the use of these cards. Further, that is, international debit cards cannot be used on internet for the purchase of prohibited items. Clear, cannot be used on the internet for the purchase of prohibited items like the lottery tickets, banned or proscribed magazines, participation in the sweepstakes, payment for the callback services, etc. For such items or activities for which withdrawal of foreign exchange, it is not permitted here. Store value cards, charge cards, smart cards, foreign travel cards, prepaid cards. So certain authorized dealer banks are also issuing store value cards, charge cards, smart card to the residents traveling on the private or the business visits abroad, which are used for making payments at the overseas merchant establishments and also for drawing cash from the ATM terminals. Okay. So certain authorized dealer banks are also issuing store value cards, charge cards, smart cards to the residents traveling on the private or business visits abroad, which are used for what? Basically for making the payment at the overseas merchant establishments and also for drawing cash from the ATM terminals. No prior permission. Clear? Further, that is, no prior permission from the Reserve Bank is required for the issue of such card. However, the use of such cards, it is limited to the permissible current account transaction and subject to the prescribed limits under the rules as amended from time to time. Clear? And subject to the prescribed limits under the rules as amended from time to time. Clear? So however, the use of such cards, it is limited to the permissible current account transactions and are subject to the prescribed limits under the rules as amended from time to time here. So as per the practice followed by some issuers, resident Indians who purchase their travel cards are permitted refund of the unutilized foreign exchange balance. Clear? Basically, whatever the balance it is unutilized, they have to refund only after 10 days from the date of the last transaction. And accordingly, this condition it is stated in the user guide. Since these cards are expected to act as a substitute for the cash or traveler checks, the facilities available to the user will have to be similar. Accordingly, all such authorized persons shall redeem the unutilized balance outstanding the cards immediately upon request by the resident Indians to whom the cards are issued, subject to the retention of. Player shall redeem the unutilized balance outstanding in the cards immediately upon request by the resident Indians to whom the cards are issued, subject to the retention of first one, that is the amounts that are authorized and remain unclaimed, not settled by the acquirers as on the date of redemption till the completion of the respective settlement cycle. Okay. Sometimes the transactions are not settled. Okay. So transaction fees or service tax payable in India in rupees. For the amounts that are authorized but unclaimed or not settled by the acquirers, the issuer of such cards can hold such amounts until such transactions are processed or settled by the acquirers within the prescribed settlement time frame. Clear? Until such transactions are processed or settled by the acquirers within the prescribed settlement time frame. Next one, that is a multi-currency foreign travel account. Clear? MCFTC. Multi-currency foreign travel account. So it is a good option to carry travel money. One has to simply load one or more of the following currency like US dollar, British pound, euros, or Singapore dollars to the multi-currency foreign travel card. And when traveling, use the card to withdraw money from ATMs or to pay for the goods and services in the shops, restaurants, and hotels around the globe. Prepaid cards are issued by the banks and non-banks. Clear? Prepaid cards are issued by the banks and non-banks against the value paid in advance by the cardholder. Clear? Against the value paid in advance by the cardholder and stored in such cards. Clear? And the amount stored in such cards, which can be used as a smart cards or the chip cards. Clear? Which can be issued as a smart cards or the chip cards, magnetic strip cards, internet accounts, internet wallets, mobile accounts, mobile wallets, paper watches, etc. Clear? So prepaid cards are issued by the banks or non-banks against the value paid in advance by the cardholder and stored in such card, which can be issued as the smart cards or chip cards, magnetic strip cards, internet accounts, internet wallets, mobile wallets, or paper watches, etc. Next one, that is the prepaid cards and the foreign travel cards. Prepaid cards. Prepaid payment instruments. So prepaid payment instruments are the payment instruments that facilitate purchase of goods and services, including the fund transfer against the value stored on such instruments. The value stored on such instruments represents the value paid for by the holders by the cash, by debit to a bank account, or by the credit card. The prepaid instruments can be issued as the smart cards, magnetic strip cards, internet accounts, internet wallets, mobile wallets, paper watches, and any such instruments which can be used to assess the prepaid amount. So the prepaid payment instruments that can be issued in the country, clear, the prepaid payment instruments that can be issued in the country are classified under basically the three categories. First one, that is the closed system payment instruments. Second one, that is the semi-closed system payment instruments. Third one, that is the open system payment instruments. Clear? Closed system payment instruments, semi-closed system payment instruments, open system payment instruments. So first one, that is the closed system payment instruments. Clear? So these are the payment instruments by a person, issued by a person for facilitating the purchase of goods and services from him or it. These instruments do not permit cash withdrawal or redemption. Clear? Very, very important. These instruments, closed system, that is, do not permit cash withdrawal or redemption, as these payments do not facilitate payments and settlements for the third party services. So issue and operation of such instruments are not classified as the payment systems. Clear? That are issued for by a person for facilitating the purchase of goods and services from him. Clear? These are the specific type of the payment instruments. Clear? And they not permit the cash withdrawal or the redemption also here. Then semi-closed system payment instruments. So these are the payment instruments which can be used for the purchase of goods and services, including the financial services, at a group of clearly identified merchant locations or establishments. Clear? That for the specific shops. Clear? This is basically for the specific one. These are little bit more, which have a specific contract with the issuer to accept the payment instruments. So these instruments do not permit cash withdrawal or redemption by the holder. Clear? And closed system, that is for the purchase of goods and services, and this is basically for the purchase of goods and services including the financial services at a group of clearly identified merchant locations or establishments which have a specific contract with the issuer to accept the payment instruments. Clear? To accept the payment instrument, that is the semi-closed system payment instruments. Last one, that is the open system payment instruments. So these are the payment instruments which are used for the purchase of goods and services, including the financial services like the fund transfer at any card, accepting merchant location, point of sale terminals, and also permit cash withdrawal at the ATMs of business correspondence points. Okay, so in the open system payment instruments, we are also able to permit the cash withdrawal. Okay. Next one, that is foreign exchange prepaid payment instruments. Clear. So persons authorized under the Foreign Exchange Management Act to issue the foreign exchange prepaid payment instruments, and where such persons issue such instruments. Clear? And where such persons issue such instruments are participants of the payment systems authorized by the Reserve Bank of India are exempted from the purview of these guidelines. Clear, are exempted from the purview of these guidelines. The use of such foreign exchange prepaid instruments shall be limited to permissible current account transactions and subject to the prescribed limits under the Foreign Exchange Management Rules 2000 as amended from the time to time. Clear, as amended from time to time here. So prepaid instruments issued by the banks for credit of cross-border inward remittances. Clear. So banks are permitted to issue prepaid instruments to the principal agents approved under the money transfer service scheme. Clear. Approved under the money transfer service scheme of the Reserve Bank of India or directly to the beneficiary under the scheme. Clear. Or directly to the beneficiary under the scheme for the loading of the funds from inward remittances subject to the conditions. Clear. So banks are permitted to issue prepaid instruments to the principal agents approved under the money transfer service scheme of the Reserve Bank of India or directly to the beneficiary under the scheme for the loading of the funds. Clear, under the scheme for the loading of the funds from inward remittances subject to the conditions. Next one, that is the rupee denominated prepaid payment instruments issued by the banks for visiting foreign nationals and NRIs. Clear. So banks are permitted to issue rupee denominated non-reloadable PPIs to the NRIs and foreign nationals visiting India. Second one, that is PPIs co-branded with the exchange houses or the money transmitters. Clear, with the exchange houses or the money transmitters to the NRIs and the foreign national visiting India subject to the conditions. Clear, visiting India subject to the conditions here. Last one, that is PPI for the mass transit systems. Clear. So in the process of moving from the cash-based payments to the electronic payments to achieve the vision of less cash society, a new category of semi-closed prepayment instruments. It is being introduced with some special features. Travel offers a thrill that few other things or activities can match. So while traveling, handling cash and making payments. Clear. So while traveling, handling cash and making payments often become an irritating issue, which is why various banks have introduced paid cards, specially designed to help you while you are traveling. Okay. So these cards come with a variety of benefits allowing you to make the purchases and payments, be it at a retail store or restaurants or anywhere else. Clear? Be it at a retail store or restaurants or anywhere else here. Clear? So that is regarding the some instruments regarding for the payments. Okay. Internet and the web services. Under that we have international credit cards, international debit cards. Very easy topic. Just you have to go through that. Very, very important. Within how many days you have to refund? That is after 10 days. Clear, only after 10 days. So thanks to all of you for joining this discussion.